Hi guys, so I'm telling my story about moving to France, and this one is continuing on. This is part two about the impetus for moving here and why France and not some other country in the world. So I got to the bit where I started talking about not wanting to live with a mortgage and wanting to spend more quality time together with my family and with the friends that we have in our life, and having more leisure time. So, um, so what we had to do is we sold our house in Henley, and we'd got a repossession, so we were able to make quite a good chunk of money after 5 years of living there. So we saved that in the bank, and for many, many, many years, we hardly went out and did anything social, so we didn't spend money on that. We were very, very kind of frugal with our money, and we had all these different bank accounts where we would siphon off different savings for different things, so that basically we wouldn't spend too much. So that worked really well. We need to do it again here. And then we downsized to a 2-bedroom apartment on the 4th floor in Wokingham, which was cheaper than Henley-on-Thames. So we tried to find kind of a good deal place that we didn't mind living in for the next 5 years. It was near my husband's school as well, so he could literally walk to school, and I cycled everywhere for my work as well. So that was really good. We saved lots of money on petrol. So we thought about all the different logistics quite carefully, and our 5-year plan of living in Wokingham ended up being a 1-year plan, because I was like, hang on a minute, life is so short. Why wait 5 years? Because our original plan was to use our apartment as a money-making scheme, so that when we moved to France, we could have tenants and stuff in there. But then after a while, there was some financial things going on with that particular apartment, and we'd have to shell out £20,000 for it for various reasons, and we didn't want that to be part of our future. So we were like, okay, change the plan, let's sell it. And Robin started thinking, well, actually, when I move country, I don't want to feel like there's this thing in England that's kind of hanging over me that we have to always kind of keep track of and think about and go back and do it up and have the maintenance on it, and we couldn't really afford to have someone to maintain it for us and have a company do that. And we wanted to kind of break the ties so that our life in France would feel freer. So we decided to sell the flat only after 1 year. I'm just going to close my door because it's a bit chilly. Moving on to a different topic, when people think about the ties they have in the country that they live, I felt like, okay, I had my English side of my family, my lovely granny, my mum, and my friends living in England. That at the same time, I'm really lucky that my mum has enough spare cash that she can come visit me pretty often, and we have WhatsApp, and we do videos to each other quite regularly, and that I'd probably be able to come back to England when I want to. It's not very far away, France, but also the feeling this idea, this kind of seed, this started growing. I didn't have that many friends in England. I had a couple of really close friends, which I'd had for quite a long time, and a few newer friends that I was enjoying. But I didn't have didn't feel like I had a huge network that I'd built up. And partly being ill with bipolar and living in Henley, I don't know, it was hard to make friends when you're going through all of that. So I felt like I could move away and it wouldn't matter very much, and I could, it felt like there was probably a reason why I didn't have that many friends. I hadn't kind of found my place in my life where life was flowing, and I have done some Rojo Adventures videos where me and Robin talk together about our life in France, where we talk a bit more about our friends here and relationships and stuff. If you want to see that, I'll pop it up. What else? Another important aspect was my husband's work. So, for example, when we were umming and ahhing about Cornwall, France, Robin was like, "Oh yeah, but if we move to Cornwall, that means I'd have to probably be a teacher again, and you know, just go into that field and stick with that, because that's what I have. Because also, even though you're moving to Cornwall, the housing is still pretty pricey, so you'd still need a mortgage and all of that, so you'd still need to work reasonably hard to pay for that." And he was like, "Actually, you know, if we're going to make this huge jump, then let's go to a country where we can buy outright, and he can then have a go at trying to be a full-time artist." And I really wanted that for him. I didn't want him to continue being an art teacher and do as much art as he could at the weekend. And he was also always feeling kind of dissatisfied because he always had homework. When you're a teacher, you always have homework at the weekends and you have marking in the evenings, and you know, it was never going to happen. And he thought, okay, well, if we don't have a mortgage, let's, you know, for a whole year, I can just focus on my art. He has and he hasn't. He's had to do a lot of work on this house to make this look as nice as it does. And so he's had to rethink that, and like, art is going to be the rest of his life. And not just for a year, because he's felt like he hasn't done as much as he wanted this year. So things are starting to build up with that here, and that's fantastic. And he's done probably, a lot more painting than he would have done if he was in England. But that's an ongoing process. And, you know, a year and a half in a new country isn't that long when you're settling in and finding your feet and everything. And with me, I was in a job in a lovely girls' school where I was an assistant to design technology team. And it was a nice job, you know, I was pretty well paid, it was regular, I had a proper salary and everything. And I had some nice people in my team, which was all changing the year I left actually, so everyone would have been different. Pretty crazy the amount that changed. But at the same time, with that job, I knew that I was leaving. I knew I'd be going to France, and it was like a stopgap thing. So I didn't have, my heart wasn't like fully in it. And I knew that I wanted to do more yoga, and that I wanted that to be more part of my working life. I wanted to be able to give more of myself to people, and I wanted to help others. And I felt like with my role that I was in, I wasn't really doing that very much. I've ended up doing lots of different kinds of work here, and why don't I stop here and I'll do a video just on what kind of work I've been doing here, because it might give you an insight if you're thinking about moving here, how kind of thinking outside the box, and how kind of creative and inventive you have to be if you live in the deep country like we do, near the mountains. But first, I might just say, what time is it? Okay, I'll do another video on why we chose this particular part of France as well. So watch this space.